What's up and welcome back to In the Black, a campaign brought to you by Blavity and Google that will highlight Black businesses and speak to how we as consumers and community can keep these businesses in the Black. The way to do this is to foster dialogue and understanding between these business owners and their consumers. I'm your host, Scotty Beam, and I am so thrilled to be sitting here with this week's Black business. I am here with Chris Williams, chef and founder of H-Town's own Lucille's 1913, a Southern cuisine restaurant that has all the heads turning. I cannot wait to try whenever I can try. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm really blessed. I'm really blessed. Please tell us a little bit more about your business, Lucille's 1913.
Okay, well, so it's two businesses. Lucille's is my restaurant. It's a Southern restaurant. It's Southern cuisine with global influences.
Mm-hmm.
We just celebrated our 8th anniversary.
Congratulations!
Thank you. It's quite the feat. We have the more restaurants per capita than any other city in the country.
Well,
it's a competitive market, and for us to be with no investors or any backing like that, for us to still be around and doing well, especially in these extraordinary times, is a gift.
okay.
So that's Lucille's, and then 1913 is my nonprofit that I started with the pandemic, and to date we've served over 65,000 meals. We've donated over 65,000 meals to our elders that are in these impoverished communities that have been cut off from their families due to the pandemic for the past 5-6 months, and so they have to fend for themselves, even though they have subsidized living. Some of these places have kitchens, most of them don't, and we want to try to keep them safe and curate meals that are nutritious, delicious, and familiar to them, and we deliver 5 times a day. So that's nice.
That's amazing to hear. That's a great thing. It's no question that food is a unifying force that is able to bring communities together. But I would love to know if and how has the community motivated you to start Lucille's?
Well, so Houston, was well, obviously it's my home. It's my hometown. But when I went back to Houston, the great thing about it is like it doesn't really have like a defined cuisine. Like as opposed to like being in the Carolinas or in Georgia or something like that's definitively Southern. Houston's kind of open. And so I saw a huge opportunity there, and also saw that, as far as Black restaurants are concerned, there are only several different iterations of Black restaurants that were in Houston before Lucille's opened up. It was either barbecue, soul food, or breakfast. Like that was it. So we thought that we could come up in there and do something that was more reflective of the cuisine that we like, that we enjoy. We lived in Europe, lived in Europe for 4 years, Asia for a while, just all over the place, and worked up and down the East Coast, Canada for 2 years, boiling potatoes and ham and all that kind of stuff. And so we went, yeah, it wasn't great.
I tried. Good.
Didn't do a good job of hiding.
I tried. I really did try that time. All right, for real.
So we wanted to create an experience that was reflective of my experience, and so to have something, Southern with global influence is what it is, and Southern means that it's the base ingredients. Of course we want to stay local, so everything that's indigenous to our area is what we base our menus on, and then we manipulate it with ingredients from everywhere from Vietnam to Lithuania.
I can't wait to talk about some of your experiences a little later on. I do want to know, what is the most important ability you had to develop in order to have the community that surrounds your business today?
The ability that I had to have, and honestly, it was grit. Grit, I don't require a lot of sleep yet. Maybe when I'm 42 this month, that's going to change, because hips are now in the conversation and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah, yes,
hips. But so it's grit, and then just a firm belief in your vision and staying true to it, because when you're trying to, as an entrepreneur, when you're trying to come up with something, everybody who doesn't share your vision, because nobody does, because it's yours. They all have their opinions on it and want you to change it and make it a little bit more comfortable for what they expect it to be. So you have to have blinders on and tunnel vision to see it all the way through. and not compromise on what you're trying to do. So that's probably the most important thing.
I earlier I heard you mention, first of all, I know Houston for having the best looking people ever. Really? Ever. It is something in the water. There's something in the food. I have never seen an ugly person in Houston in my life, or from Houston ever in my life. Okay. But I really did want to know, how has Houston influenced you as a Black business owner? Because I read in your editorial, and you had mentioned it earlier, that, no Black owner was doing what you were doing at the time. Can you speak more on that and speak to the importance of exploring untrodden paths?
Exploring, what was the last thing you said? Exploring what?
Exploring untrodden paths, like paths that, nobody stepped on or continued to go down because I guess it was a little bit more difficult, maybe?
Yeah. It was new, and it really speaks to, I think the reason why it's like that is just because of the limited framing in this country of what Black restaurants are supposed to be. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like you have you could take one of the most popular newspapers in the country that has the largest readership, and who believe that they're the most educated and the most liberal and the most thoughtful, the most considerate and most woke audience out there. But then this publication puts out a list of 16 African-American restaurants that are changing the game. And these chefs are phenomenal. Like they're incredible chefs. You can't deny their talent at all. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is it was just limited to what the restaurants were. It either had to be soul food, barbecue, or West African, West Indian, and then repeat. That's all it was. So when you have that being put out to the public and this audience that thinks that they get it, they're the woke ones, but now they're limited because this is what it's supposed to be. This is what Black cookery looks like. This is what Black restaurants look like.
Right.
So, and that's not a new phenomenon. Like that's how it's always been. That's not all that we've ever done, but that's all that's ever been celebrated because that's all that's comfortable to the masses as far as what the expectation of what our work is supposed to be. So that being said, it wasn't difficult for us to take the path that we're doing because we've always gone our own path. We've always done our own thing, and it starts from my great grandmother, who I named the restaurant after. Like she was a chef who didn't do anything close to what you would expect Black cooks to do back in her heyday, which is the 30s, or from the teens all the way through the 80s. She paved her own way and was celebrated for it because she was fearlessly creative. And so it wasn't really an untrodden path for us because we already had the blueprint with the namesake of the restaurant.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, you are in some sorts carving out lanes for others to come up after you, while sharing information, from those before you. And it's a form of activism, you know what I'm saying? For those that do want to come after you, in your opinion, what's one skill other Black businesses should learn or master in order to thrive, aside from grit?
I think the biggest lesson that I've learned throughout the process, and what any business could do, but especially Black business, or should do, is the investment in community. Because that's been at the center of us, even though it wasn't written down, it wasn't part of our code of ethics or anything like that. It was just an understood, unwritten rule that community is first. And so this year is a great example of it, with the world changing and all this kind of stuff. And just like we had 4 years ago with Hurricane Harvey, which tried to destroy the city.
Yeah.
We see those as opportunities to step up and do what we can to help the whole, right? And when your audience, the community, sees your investment in the community can't help but to invest in you and your efforts, because now you give them an opportunity to have these dual purpose dollars. So now they come and spend money over at Lucille's, enjoy themselves, have a nice time, get the experience, but it can also know that those dollars are going right back in the community through 1913. And so now it's just actually laid out for them. It's work that we've always done, but now it's clear and defined so people can see it. And that's good for any business, and every business can do it.
That's amazing advice. That's great advice. And I was reading your bio. I'm glad that you mentioned your ancestor, because what struck me was the first line of the bio, which said, Lucille's is a tribute to a legacy of culinary excellence started almost a century ago. I love that line. But also, I think about us having to amplify the ancestral voices that sometimes go unsung. And, I was reading a little bit about the absence of immortalizing Black chefs' contributions in culinary schools. And I wanted to know if you feel like there is a lack of exposure of Black culinary excellence in culinary industries. Do you feel that we are overlooked in the field?
Yeah, I mean, it's overlooked and underappreciated and limited into what it could be. And it starts with the limitation, like with the limitation of the framing of what Black cookery is supposed to be. So if you expect, if all that's being celebrated and spoken about is soul food, barbecue, or breakfast, then how can anybody appreciate us for anything else if they don't expect us to do anything else?
Right.
Right. And that's what the masses think. I mean, and that's not outside of the Black community, that's in the Black community as well, because that's what's so loud. I mean, that's the thing, that's all you ever hear about. That's all we ever heard about.
Right.
But that's far from all that we've done, because Black folks have worked and have led amazing Swedish restaurants. They've led amazing Lebanese restaurants, French restaurants, Mexican restaurants, any kind of restaurant, and we've done it all over the world. I was just in Uzbekistan last night, and there's a Black restaurateur out there killing it.
Yes.
In Uzbekistan. So we're all over the world, and we're doing it all over the world. As a matter of fact, we're about to open up a restaurant in Canada, which is going to be a celebration of Nova Scotian ingredients with Lebanese influences.
Well,
because we can do that. We can do
that. We can.
Yeah, but we can do that, right? I mean, if everybody else can go out and appropriate food from all over the world and become like the ambassadors of this thing, and all they have in common with the culture that they're now claiming the food from is that they're 5'2". Like, I mean, why can't we do it?
Right.
But as far as like bringing the voices to the forefront, there's some amazing people out there doing the work. Toni Tipton-Martin is at the top of the line. She's a James Beard Award-winning author 2 times, 2 books. The first one was the Jemima Code, which celebrates Black cookbooks from the late 1800s through the early 1900s. Amazing book, and my great-grandmother's featured in that book.
Wow.
So the latest book, which is Jubilee, which is just an extension of that, but it's more modern. And so she's brilliant. She's leading the charge. There's also Michael Twitty, who's doing amazing work, who's a food historian and anthropologist who's just on, I can't even mess, he's on a different level. Like, he's so deep with it, like, yeah. So there are people out there doing the work, and they're starting to be recognized, and things like the James Beard Award nominations and to these authors and these chefs, it's getting out there. It's getting out there. It's just, it's a big 400-year deep hole that we have to work out of. So,
right.
yeah.
Speaking like of stepping outside of these boxes of like soul food and, barbecue and breakfast, how important do you think it is for there to be Black mentorship and Black leadership in this field?
It's incredibly important, because I mean, like, and even if it's not, I mean, so that would be great. That would be great. But the reality is, with restaurants, they're so dynamic and chaotic that the only way that, there's space for mentorship is for you to just come work in the restaurant. Like, you have to be there to see it, because restaurateurs, especially chefs, don't really have a lot of time to get out of their restaurant or their kitchen. But I think with the mentorship, what's even more important is just the example, the access, for people to see that this exists, that there's more than just these 3 lanes to create.
And that would need exposure. And that's what drives me crazy, because I see some of these, shows, and I just got into like watching chef shows and stuff like that. And I rarely see Black chefs in there. So I'm like, where is the representation? Where am I supposed to feel like I can step out of this box? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's I think 2020, as awful as it's been, it's also, it's shaking a lot of things up, and we're starting to get more Black voices in the writing room and the producing and all that kind of stuff, calling the shots. Because the fact is, if you don't have anybody representing you in the room, then how are we supposed to, get on the stage?
Right.
Yeah.
You've referred to your style as Southern cuisine with global influences, which you said describes your journey as a chef, and I love that. Can you talk to me a little bit more about being able to tell your story through a culinary lens? And is that what culinary freedom looks like?
That's exactly what it looks like. That's exactly what it looks like, and I'm hella grateful for
Right.
that we've been able to do it for this long and now able to expand and grow and do more with it. But telling the story through food is one of the most difficult things, most personal things that chefs can do. Because I mean, at the end of the day, it's food, but it's also it's art. You're telling your story. This is your perspective. This is your life experience. This is how things work in your mind, and now you're trying to share it with the masses who have completely different life experiences, expectations, and budgets. You know what I mean? Like it's all these things that you have to factor in. But the biggest compliment that we can get, because as much as with Lucille's, what we're trying to, I mean, we're trying to serve unpretentious, delicious, thoughtful, beautiful food, right? Excuse me. And one of the best, the best compliment that we can get, my favorite compliment, is when somebody when they tell me that they've had whatever dish they had, and it reminds them of some beautiful childhood memory, because that's what you want. You know what I mean? You want, that's the best experience when you go to a restaurant and you taste something and it just immediately transplants you back to some wonderful time back when the sun was brighter and the air was cleaner and all this kind of stuff.
Ignorance was bliss.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's our goal, and that's the story I'm trying to tell. Because I mean, I've been doing this for over 25 years, but my favorite food memory start.
You look 25. That's nuts. Go ahead. Sorry.
I know that you guys are laying it on because how.
No, I'm not laying it on. I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you the truth. You do not look a day over 25. That's really shocking when I read that.
I really.
It's the food. It's doing wonders. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't eat that stuff. I live off of stuff out of gas stations. I can't.
Oh, please.
If you cook it all day, you can't eat it. It just doesn't work that way. Yeah.
Please. I don't know how. I don't even know how that works. I don't even know.
You taste it once.
Not my ministry. But I'm glad that you said that, because I wanted to know if there was a particular dish that speaks to your personal growth as a Black man and as a chef. Because music and food for me has always been synonymous, especially, they offer comfort and evoke emotion. And I've studied music my whole life, and there's certain songs that can speak and reflect to my personal growth. And I wanted to know if that was the same for food and if there was a dish.
Yeah, so I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying. Totally agree. And the dynamic, so Lucille's there is a dish. Short answer, yes, there is a dish. Mm-hmm. It's our roasted Cornish hen. And so it's berbere spiced. It's marinated in roasted garlic and berbere spice. Berbere is one of the main staples for Ethiopian cooking. It's like the most dominant flavor that you get when you go to Ethiopian restaurant, which I can't go to enough. I love them. I've always loved them since living in DC. I'm just addicted to Ethiopian food, the injera and all that kind of stuff. But anyhow, so it's a Cornish hen that's marinated in this roasted garlic berbere spice rub, and then we just pan-sear it, finish it off in the oven, and served over Carolina gold rice grits. So we take the rice and we mill it down, and then we make something that's comparable to grits, but it's a little bit lighter, fluffier. Then we finish it with Gruyere, lemon juice, and it's beautiful. And then it's topped off with brown buttered English peas and roasted garlic, sage oil, and the braising jus from the hen. That one is like that's my fave right now. But as far as the journey of Lucille's and like the growth of the chef, when we first opened up, we were a lot more ambitious with the stuff that we were doing, really pushing the envelope, because when you open up, you feel like you have something to prove. But now we and it's more about you than your audience. Now we've had 8 years in, and we've been able to find comfort in our own skin, really engage our clientele, which is forever grown and extremely diverse, which I'm very, very happy to say. And so we've calmed it down a bit and we've gotten more focused. And so it's a lot more straightforward. It's not, deconstructing things and doing 18 different components to a dish and trying to make everything so pretty. And that we're over that for now. Yeah, for now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Okay. You've been in this business for over 20 years. Yeah. Crazy. But starting a business is always a risk. What is one question you should ask yourself before stepping out of your comfort zone and into starting a business?
Are you passionate about it? Like, really passionate about this idea? Because the reality of it is you're going to be the one that has to fight for it constantly. You're not going to sleep. And if you don't love it, if you're not passionate about it, it's not going to make it. Because there's one thing that I read in some book from a while ago. It's one of the best quotes I've ever seen, but it's that businesses don't fail, entrepreneurs quit. And the only way an entrepreneur will quit is if he's not passionate about whatever he's creating, whatever he created. That's the only way he could do it. So quitting's not an option for me because I love this. I almost got a little bit too comfortable right there. I love it. So there's no
work in progress for me as well.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I would love to talk about not quitting, especially, about your business in the past several months. Mm-hmm. Because of the pandemic, did you have to shift your business goals? Do they look different now? If so, how have you shifted them?
So this has been the year of the pivot, right? And so, yeah, when the shutdown first came to Texas, I knew it was coming because I was in New York when Broadway went dark, and then I was in New Orleans when Bourbon Street went dark. And so I knew we probably had 3 to 4 days before Texas was going to go dark. Right. So I'd already talked to the team. We started getting our plans together. And my whole goal was knowing that this wasn't going to be a short-term thing. I don't know how I had that foresight. Some people thought it was going to be a 2-week thing or something. I was like, nah, bro, this is going to be here a minute.
I thought it was a 2-week thing. I was like, okay, I could stay in the house for 2 weeks. 7 months? No.
Yeah, I didn't know it was going to be a lifetime. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for real. This is most of the year.
Yeah, this is the longest, fastest year ever, right?
Completely.
But yeah, so what we did was we started working on our contactless curbside pickup. We really led the way for that in Houston, where guests weren't allowed inside of our building. We came up with my team, because I didn't do it. I'm not that smart. My team came up with this amazing system to where people call in their orders, we take payment over the phone, and there's nothing but identifying the car outside. We come and make a drop, and that's it. We move on. We didn't take any cash. We didn't do anything. And we switched our whole model from, typical business model, which is profitability. We went to sustainability, and for the reason that my team, we've had the average tenure person that works over Lucille's is 4 years. And in restaurants, it's unheard of because the average is like 6 months. It's a business of turnover. And you're constantly hiring and training new people. But gratefully enough, my team's been there through all of it. And so with that in mind, my team's now my family. And one thing that I didn't want to say furlough. There's going to be no furlough. And there wasn't going to be any layoffs. I wanted to keep everybody whole. And so what we did is we switched our entire model. We changed all our menus up to where we could get cheaper ingredients, still change the approach, started offering family style packs and all this kind of stuff to where we could save money on production and also pass those savings over to our guests. So we dropped our prices on average around 40%, just to incentivize customers to continue to do business with us because we're giving you value. And with that cost, of course, with everything being shut down, I had a conversation with all my vendors and my landlord, like, yo, I'm not making any money, so I don't know why in the hell you would expect to make money. What you're right. For is to just stay whole and hold on while we go through this. So if you're cool with that, let's go ahead and take, we'll pay cost. We'll pay cost so you can keep doing business and we can keep doing business. So I dropped all my operating expenses down, and we were down like 82% the first month of COVID. What am I talking about? Almost 90%. But still, we were able to pay all of our salaries and still we're profitable. We were still profitable. So that was the first change. And also with the condensed menu, there are a bunch of little incentives like that. But another thing, with business being down close to 90%, we still need to stay productive, because I'm happy to say that I have a proud team who aren't looking for charity. They don't want handouts or anything like that. They want to work.
Do the work, right.
So we need to come up with some work. So we started donating meals to the Med Center, first responders that are right in our backyard. And so that first month, we donated over 3,000 meals. And we targeted specifically the graveyard shift, because everybody's getting, donating from lunch or breakfast and all that kind of stuff. Those people were inundated with food. Graveyard, not so much. So we went specifically after them, fed them for the first month, and then it led into us targeting our elders. And when I say our elders, I'm talking about our community. And these, like, from Sunnyside, Houston, 3rd Ward, 5th Ward, Acres Home. We started targeting them and feeding them. And so we started, the first community was one called Anna Dupree in Sunnyside, which is where half of my father's family's from. And as soon as I delivered the first day to those people, like, I just knew them. Like, oh my God, there goes Aunt Lucille, there goes Cousin Willie, there's Chad who just got out of jail. Like, I know all of them. Like, I knew them. So we started creating menus that spoke directly to those memories that I had, the food that we used to have back in the day over at Aunt Lucille's house, or, Mr. McPherson's house. And so came up with the menu specifically based off of those memories that was nutritious, delicious, and everything done from scratch. And we started from there. And the thing with philanthropy is that it's addictive.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And when you're doing something with food and you're delivering yourself to these people every single day, and you get these relationships, it's something that you can't stop. You can't just be like, all right, Miss Jackson, it's been good.
Nope.
Good luck. You can't stop it. Mm-hmm. So we've, it's been a fight, but we've continued the entire time. Like I said, we've done over 67,000 meals so far. And we're also about to onboard another kitchen to where we can do it, another satellite kitchen at one of our partner communities to double production. So we're hoping to do close to 1,500 meals a day within the next month and a half.
That's very inspiring. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Chris. And
we're hiring people from these communities, and we're going to teach them and give them the gift of culinary arts, so then they can go off and have a self-sustaining career. So that was one. And then it was, we had Joe Biden, the Floyd family, came and hosted their historical meeting over at the restaurant, which really, upped our platform and got people to get involved in what we were doing, because we were already about a month and a half deep in the 1913 initiative.
Right.
And the last thing that we did, and this is just, it goes back to this investment in the community. Am I going too much? You want me to say?
No. Go ahead. Okay. Go ahead. Because I'm just taking pieces, and I'm like, we need to expound on certain things, because, you're saying a lot of heavy stuff that I do want to talk about, but keep going.
Yeah, just put the finger up when you're ready.
No. Go ahead. I'll remember.
Okay. But, so the last thing that we did is that we started a bar pop-up program, because in Texas,
I love this.
The bars were open for 3 weeks, which was too soon. They opened up the bars too soon. They shouldn't have opened them up that soon. But anyhow, they opened them up too soon. People got off unemployment, worked for 3 weeks to have the carpet pulled from underneath them, and now they're off unemployment with no shot at getting back on it, and they're just screwed. So at my restaurant, we have a huge patio that we invested a lot in when the pandemic started, because we didn't want anybody inside. Nobody did. Nobody wanted to be inside.
Right.
So we have a nice bar out there. So we started targeting different bar teams from around the city, different bars that were shut down, and we gave them our bar. So what we want them to do is curate, bring their own menus, their own cocktails, produce their cocktails the way they do over at their own bar, ask their audience to come out to my restaurant to get access to them, because like I said about the proud people, everybody wanted to help them out, but
right.
Nobody's going to take $50. Like, yeah, here's 50, because we have pride. You know what I mean? Like, not a whatever. And so what we did is, so last night actually was was the last one that we're going to do, because I think bars are about to open up. But we did 16 pop-ups and put over $42,000 directly into the pockets of these bars that had no other source of income coming in. And it was 100%. Excuse me. You see, I had it was a good time last night.
I see.
It was we gave them 100% of their sales. So whatever their cocktail price was, 100% went to them minus taxes, merchant services, and my expenses buying the liquor. Because in Texas, I have to buy all the liquor for them to use. But we had great sponsorships, and and $1 went to 1913. So it was a great program, and yeah, $42,000 straight in the pockets. It was awesome.
Wow. Yeah, I love that initiative. That was a great one. When I was reading it, I was like, I totally forgot about bars. Like for 2 seconds, I wasn't even thinking about bars and bartenders and, you know, how they were suffering, because literally like everybody's suffering. But I did want to talk a little bit more about Curbside,
Sure.
the feature on Google. Did you use that one? Because I saw like, you know, they had told me that Curbside was your thing. Why is it so important for you to have Curbside as a feature?
Yeah, absolutely. We took full advantage of it. They're really, it's an amazing tool. I even used it as a guest, as a customer. I used it.
Really?
Yeah, and that's how we found out about it, because it was so easy. You Google up some restaurants you think you want to eat at, and you're like, oh my God, I can just go ahead and order it right now. Like I don't have to go to the website or anything. It was great. It's a great tool. But yeah, Curbside's important because, I mean, a lot of people aren't comfortable and they shouldn't be comfortable. Like this thing isn't over. So Curbside is going to be a new part of the restaurant business. Like that's just, it's going to be a part of business moving forward. And this platform makes it so much easier and simplifies the entire process. So where even my mother, who's a brilliant woman, but not tech savvy. And I am her son because I'm not tech savvy. It took me a while to figure out this whole Zoom thing. Even me and my mom can do this. So that's
yeah, that's a great feature to have. A lot of people did not know about that too.
yeah.
I'm glad that people now are learning better ways to help their, you know, businesses or, you know, help the people that they want to support. You know, how have you been able to stay connected with Houston during this time? And also like, how has Google Near Me feature been helpful for your business?
Well, we've been able to stay connected with the people because of all the good work that we're doing. We've been fortunate enough to get a lot of attention because of the work.
I think that's how you maintain your personal approach. You know, with all this social distancing that's happening, I think people still feel connected to you because of all the work that you've been doing out here.
That's a really good point. That's a great point. Yeah, and the Google Near Me, I mean, it's self-explanatory. You know what I mean? Because if people are starting to come out, and I think museums are definitely back open, and people are trying to not get back to business as usual, but they're just still trying to live in this new world with this new approach. And it's just useful as it's always been, because we get a ton of guests that come that were just over at the Children's Museum or the Museum of Natural Science or Museum of Fine Arts, the Holocaust Museum or whatever. They're all right around us. And they find us through that app, through the Google Near Me, restaurants near me, all that kind of stuff. So it's been pretty, it's always been a huge part of our business.
I love that. I love that that you can just put in, you know, restaurants and it pops up near me in the search engine. Like I don't need to, you know, do anything else that's extra because I'm just not an extra person and I'm extra lazy too. So, you know, to discover even new food places, you know, I find it through Google. I find it through that Near Me feature that Google has. It's very clear you show up and you constantly continue to show up for your community. How has the community shown up for you during this pandemic?
They've shown up because I mean they've been supporting us. You know what I mean? Like before the world changed, this is our 8th year, and we were on track to make this our best year ever. Like just within the first 2.5 months of service, we were on pace to just like kill it this year. Like the numbers were through the roof, like guest numbers, everything was it's beautiful. And then you know, got the breaks. And but since then, through our initiatives, like I said, we were able to keep 100% of the staff on, 99% of the staff on, because one person had to go. I had to get them out of there. And COVID was a great excuse to move them on down the road. But outside of that,
Chris.
we kept everybody else. So 99% of the people we kept. You
are funny. You're shady, but funny. Go ahead.
Too much. But so they were coming out in masses to support the initiative, and we were very clear on what our intentions were, which is to keep our staff safe and whole. Mm-hmm. That was very clear in our messaging. We want to keep them safe and whole, and we want to do the same thing for our guests, obviously. And so people, with us being so clear about it, people showed up. People showed up, and then when restaurants started to open back up and we had this beautiful patio that we could take full advantage of and push business out there and share about our intentions of what we've done with the donations to the first responders and then to our elders, people have been coming out. It's crazy. It's beautiful. It's socially distanced, mm-hmm. but it's busy. It's busy, and because of the support that we received, not only this is still going to be our best year, but the year's been so good that we've been able to not throw, because there ain't no throwing this kind of money, but be able to put over $130,000 into 1913 to go ahead and to do these 67,000 meals that we've done so far. We've also been able to hire 13 more people, put them back to work over at 1913. Yeah. So that's all the community.
I think it's so necessary to identify what support looks like for the business owner, because consumers have this assumption that financial support is the only support that matters, when that's not true. You know, what are ways people can support your business even if they aren't able to purchase directly from you?
Just spreading the good news. You know, I mean, reviews on Google, like just doing what they're doing.
Okay.
I mean, because you don't have to be in the building to support, but there is no, the most powerful advertisement is word of mouth. You know what I mean? Like that's what people believe in. That's why that's why reviews are so important now, because people don't care what you say on the website. They care what people say about your website.
Listen, I'm a big reviewer. I love to read a review. I need to do my job, and that's my responsibility, to actually review the places that I go, because I think the experience is way much better when people, you know, read about it. They know what they're getting, you know what I'm saying? Or what they might get, I don't know. Yeah. But I also wanted to ask you, during this climate, how have you been able to gain new customers? How are they finding out about your business aside from word of mouth?
Like it's been, I mean, obviously the things that we mentioned with the Google, because as people are coming back out trying to get back into life, that Google near me has always been a driver, and it's still just as effective as it was back in the day when we first opened up.
Right.
But there's that, and then we've been fortunate enough to have a lot of really good press about what we're doing, because, you know, right now, and I understand now why we've been getting so much press. Because, man, Pete, you need to hear something good nowadays, because there's been nothing good put out there. It's exhausting. And so people are thirsty for some good news, and we have an abundance of it with really good intentions. And so fortunately enough, people have been spreading it for us.
Yeah. And I also did want to talk about, you know, some significant milestones that you are most proud of. I know one, you mentioned it, but I would like for you to tell that story. I'm talking about Joe Biden meeting with George Floyd's family. What was it like being part of such an impactful moment?
Man, okay, I'll give you a condensed version, but I'll start off with, I was exhausted because Monday was supposed to be my day off. Well, not my day off, because we'd already started doing the 1913, but it's supposed to be a short day. Mm-hmm. But when the Biden campaign first reached out to us, they didn't tell us what their intention was. They just said, "Hey, can we use your space on Monday?" And I told them, "No, you can't," because I thought it was going to be some kind of like fundraiser thing, and I'm like, it's not worth my time. You know, I just need a little. Can I get a break? Can I just get a little break?
Right.
And so we said no, and then they responded like, "Okay, well, Vice President Biden wants to meet with the Floyd family over at your restaurant. Are you sure you don't want to do this? And I was like, okay, well, please come. I'll take care of everything. It's on me. Just tell me what time I need to be there, how long I'm going to be there, how many people you need. Yeah. So they come over. Secret Service arrives first, which is a real production. And then Vice President Biden and Dr. Biden come in with his team. An amazing politician. I don't know how genuine it was, but I mean, it really feels like he's interested in what you say, and he takes time with every single person. I know that's politics, but man, he does it really well. Mm-hmm. And then the Floyd family came in. And the thing about the Floyd family is that up to that point, it was a concept. It was a movement. It wasn't really, it went beyond being a person or a family. Like, you didn't see George Floyd anymore as like a father, brother, cousin, husband, son. You see him as like this worldwide movement, this call to action, right? But the family coming in was very sobering, because you're like, oh, he's all of those things, and these people are in mourning. Right. They don't want all this hype and all this press and all this kind of stuff. Like, they're hurting. And so they came in as a very somber, sobering moment. And then they went to go speak with Vice President Biden and Dr. Biden. And they came down, and it was a completely different energy, because you could see how it hit them, that this opportunity that they had to really share their experience, their concerns with potentially the next world leader, potentially. Right. The fact that that they made the effort to pull that thing together was really something. And there's another moment that really brought it home, is when Vice President Biden told George Floyd's son, and I didn't even know he had an 18-year-old son. You always hear about the little girl saying, is my daddy going to change the world? And so Vice President Biden said to the son, your sister's right, though. Your dad is going to change the world. And he was like, Vice President Biden, I didn't want my dad to change the world. I just wanted my dad. Mm. It's a heavy, heavy moment. But by the end of it, it went from being mourning to a repast, and how repasses are in our community, where you pull out the cake, yeah, you pull out the crown or whatever it is. And so they come down, they eat the food, they enjoyed the food, gave me a lot of compliments about it. I thanked them for coming, and they looked at the bar and they're like, hey, this dude, I had it. So it turned into a good time afterwards, but it was an incredible moment. But as special as that was, and as historic as it potentially could be, depending on how this works out in a few days, the thing that I'm most proud of is the way that my team is, the way that we stuck together, and we didn't just survive this world-changing stuff. We thrived, and we're able to help a lot of people in the process. So yeah, that's 2020 was hell, but it's also been a gift.
Well, Chris, your commitment to community is beyond inspiring. Like, this world is truly a better place with you in it. And on behalf of everyone who is watching and myself, we thank you for real, Chris, for your contributions as a chef, business owner, and as a human being. I'm going to end this interview with something I found on actually your website, with Lucille's recipe for a good life, which sums up what Lucille embodies, and a recipe that should be in everyone's life and cookbook. It reads, take equal parts of kindness, unselfishness, and thoughtfulness. Mix in an atmosphere of love, add a spice of usefulness, scatter a few grains of cheerfulness, season with smiles, stir in a hearty laugh, and dispense to every member of your family. I hope you hold on to that as you enter your weekend, and keep it close for the months to come. Remember to search the hashtag #InTheBlack to stay up to date and support our features, our Black-owned businesses. I'm Scotty Beam. I'll see you next week. Peace. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.